call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1. Andy A. Quinn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Bickens, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Chaplain Ginger Watson, Pastor Ginger Watson from the United Methodist Church at Meadowbrook. I believe they're celebrating their 90th anniversary this week. So after the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges. Thank you again for coming out today. Program.
Let me see if I can get that. Thank you guys so much for having me on this very busy election day. I wanted to share with you something John Wesley, the founder of Methodism, wrote in his journal 250 years ago. I met those of our society who had votes in the ensuing election, and I advised them, number one, to vote without fee or reward for the person they judged most worthy. Number two, to speak no evil of the person they voted against. And number three, to take care their spirits were not sharpened against those that voted on the other side. Will you pray with me? Holy God, on this election day in our country, God of justice and compassion, God of Republicans and Democrats and independents, God of the poor and the 1% and the middle class, we pray for our nation, our churches, and ourselves. In the midst of meanness and deception, may our words be kind and true. In the midst of loud speeches and harsh accusations, may we listen well and try to understand. May we join with our brothers and sisters of all faiths in breaking down the dividing walls, speaking the truth in love, meeting together in the face of disagreements. On this eve of remembrance, recognizing that 100 years ago, we ended the great war that was to end all wars, we confess that we've not realized the dream of peace. We thank you for all the men and women who have served our country in the armed forces. May we one day live into the kingdom where the lion lays down with the lamb and swords are beaten into plowshares. We also rejoice in the faith communities of our wonderful city, including Meadowbrook United Methodist Church, which will celebrate its 90th anniversary this Sunday. Thank you, God, for all those who serve our community and make a difference every day. And finally, Lord, bless this court. May their work be productive and meaningful. They too are in service to this community, and we thank you for the work of all who serve here. And we pray these things in God's holy name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Pastor, thank you very much for your words. Could you please, I think I saw you reading the prayer. If we could get a copy of that, I would love to get a copy of that. And then also, if you could send me, because I think I also read or saw you reading from the quotes from John Wesley. I would appreciate that very, very much. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have three items for you this morning as it relates to the agenda. The first is under the Administrator section, item 8A1. We're going to ask that we hold that particular item since, Judge, you signed the declaration of disaster this morning, and therefore we will have that back on the agenda for next week. Also, we could go to juvenile, item 8H1. This is a consent item. It's a receive and file of amendment number 1. We're also going to ask that we hold that for 1 week. And then finally, members of the court, on item under the Sheriff's Department, under item 8K1, this is the acceptance of a donation. We're also going to ask that you hold that particular item and we'll bring that back shortly. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of October the 30th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of proclamations on this morning, and we're going to start off with our National Veterans Awareness recognition, and we have Andy Van Wey and Clint Ludwig who are here to accept. So if y'all will please come forward, and anybody else that you'd like to bring down with you. And I'll read that first. I'll read that into the record. Whereas we can never hope to fully repay these courageous men and women for their distinguished service in our nation, we can and must show our appreciation for their sacrifice and provide support for them and their families. And whereas in 2013, 4 local business leaders in Fort Worth got together to find a way to raise money to help disabled veterans and fund the Cowtown Warriors organization. And whereas the Cowtown Warriors organization, through partnership with Wounded Warrior Battalion in Quantico, Virginia, formed an inaugural fundraising event called the Cowtown Warriors Ball. And whereas Cowtown Warriors, which operates as a function of the Metroplex Marines Coordinating Council, has raised about $450,000 and is completely run by volunteers and veterans. And whereas 100% of all funds raised are used to assist disabled veterans with items such as wheelchair accessible ramps, rent assistance, and even special beds. And whereas services are provided for veterans from all eras, regardless of discharge status, law enforcement, fire rescue, and emergency medical personnel, adults and children, and any family members of a veteran or first responder. And whereas the 5th Cowtown Warrior Ball fundraising event will take place on February 24th, 2019 at the Fort Worth Club, and whereas the Cowtown Warriors are continuing to increase their visibility in local communities and dedicated to finding others who are looking for ways to assist disabled vets, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the week of November 5th through 9th, 2018 as National Veterans Awareness Week. And further, we urge all citizens of Tarrant County to increase the understanding of the contributions of veterans in our communities and take part in scheduled events and educational activities. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed the 6th day of November 2018, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Wait, well, I got my best side though.
Ladies and gentlemen, just an honor for Cowtown Warriors to get to be here today and receive this recognition. Thank you, Your Honor, for making consideration for this. Our founder, Jeremy Spann, one of our founders, Jeremy Spann, couldn't be here today, but in his illustrious words, we try to help veterans whose lives currently suck a little less. And so that's our goal, is to kind of be a placeholder for where government grant money and other programs can't help. Most recently, we just renovated a World War II veterans house that couldn't get into the shower anymore. It had a giant curb on it, and had a foot drop at its foundation. So we get to do things like that with other organizations maybe could. So thank you so much for this recognition, and we're really blessed to be here today.
Before next we meet, we will have observed Veterans Day, November the 11th, and this is the 100th anniversary. Originally, when it started out, it was Amnesty Day, and then over the years they kind of moved the date somewhere around, but it's now come back to and is November the 11th. And so, again, we want to especially thank veterans who are here in the county, and I hope we're going to go through, and I'm going to call each group and ask if you're a veteran of that particular organization, please stand at that time. First, we'll start off with the Air Force. Any veterans from the Air Force, please? There you go. There you go. Next is the Navy. Would the Navy folks please stand? The Army. The Coast Guard. And finally, get ready, Judge. The Marines. Each year, the judge has a birthday celebration for the Marine Corps, and we appreciate your service. We equally appreciate how you go out of your way to work with the veterans, but also other special needs courts, and you really go that second mile. And we appreciate that very, very much. So, again, thank all of you veterans who are here today and for the service. We want to do whatever we can to help recognize you and to thank you. And as we are doing today, we're voting today because you were willing to risk your lives and to be our watch while you were in military service. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Next, Commissioner Wynn, I believe you have a resolution for us.
That is for ratification only. We celebrated the 80th anniversary of Coogan Educational Center in Arlington. So I move for its ratification, please.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Fickus.
Yes, I have a proclamation for Alpha One Awareness Month, and I'll read this into the record. Whereas Alpha One is an antitrypsin deficiency. Alpha One is one of the most common hereditary disorders in the world and can result in life-threatening liver disease in children and adults, or lung disease in adults. And whereas Alpha One has been identified in virtually all populations around the world, with an estimated 100,000 children and adults in the U.S. who have been diagnosed with this severe deficiency. And whereas researchers estimate there are at least 20 million carriers of the single gene defect in the United States who may pass it on to their children. And whereas Alpha One is widely underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed. Fewer than 10% of those predicted to have Alpha One have been actually diagnosed. And whereas Alpha One is the most common genetic risk factor for chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is COPD, the third leading cause of death in the United States, only behind heart disease and cancer. Whereas lung disease is the most frequent cause of disability and early death among those affected by Alpha One, striking in the prime of life and a major reason for lung transplants. And whereas Alpha One originates in the liver and can lead to liver failure at any time in life, it is a leading genetic cause
of liver transplantation in children. And whereas currently the only treatment for liver disease of alpha-1 is a liver transplant. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2018 as Alpha-1 Awareness Month and encourage citizens to educate themselves on this serious and often fatal disease. We further encourage residents to support the local Alpha-1 community and foundations that are working to educate both the medical community and citizens on the disease and raise awareness of Alpha-1. In witness whereof we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 6th day of November 2018. And we have Aaron Causey, who is here representing his father, who will be accepting this. Aaron, if you could please come forward. Yes, I need a motion.
You make it.
I'll second.
You
seconds. We got it.
He's rookie. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Everybody asked a question. Did your father, did he have alpha-1?
He has alpha-1.
Did he have a transplant?
No, he's actually the rare case he studied now.
Wow.
He's one of the few over 50 not have a full transplant or any other respiratory issues. He's actually on the old field right now, that's why I'm here.
Well, great. Let me present this to you.
We're going to get a picture here.
She takes 3 photos. So. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Tell your father we said hi.
We'll do. Thank
Okay.
you.
Now we come to, again, one of my favorite times of each month, and that's the opportunity for us to recognize our employees. For you new ones, for you newbies of 5 years, we call your name by group or what sounds like your name. And if you know you're supposed to be the next one in the alphabet, regardless of whether it sounds like your name or not, stand up. It'll make things a lot easier. I'm going to get abused regardless, so we'll make it through the process. After I've called that particular entire group, then then you can be seated and we'll move on to the next group. So we'll start with our 5-year employees. First is Richard Barron from Facilities Management. There he is. Amy Brahm from Criminal District Attorney's Office. See, that was my first mistake, I'm sure. How do you pronounce it? Yeah, that's the one. Keith Carpenter, Precinct 1. Ronald Edwards, Precinct 2. Where's Ronald? Cynthia Fouts, Public Health. Noah Garcia, Facilities Management. There it is. Jeffrey Harlan, Sheriff's Department. Miranda Heckler, County Clerk. Joseph Henderson, Sheriff's Department. Kathy Jackson, Housing. Kathy. Chad Kruger, Sheriff's Department. Chad Raines, Facility Management. Juan Rios, Veteran Services. Christina Rodriguez, Sheriff's Department. And Candace White, Domestic Relations Office. These are our 5-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Y'all can be seated. Now for our 10-year employees. Annette Bailey, Sheriff's Department. Ronnie Bowlen, Precinct 4. Tiffany Downing, Tax Office. Cornelia Embry, Public Health. William Fields, Facilities Management. Denise Hallmark, Domestic Relations Office. Darrell Huffman, Constable Precinct 3. Cindy Jones, Juvenile Services. Tommy LaRue, 396th District Court. Karen Marcus, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 7. Chris Mitchell, Sheriff's Department. Sheila Moore, Tax Office. Randy Knoll, Sheriff's Department. Vanessa Ortega, Information Technology. Perry Pack, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Marvina Robinson, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Kenneth Smythe, Precinct 4. Johnny Sparks, Sheriff's Department. Michael Waniski, Precinct 3. And Ron Wooten, Constable, Precinct 2. Let's give these 10-year employees. Now for our 15-year employees, Nicole Beignet, Precinct 4. Benoit? Yeah, Benoit Beignet, yeah. Is she here?
She's
Not here.
She's not here, and you're giving me grief about the way I pronounce her name? Naomi Daniel, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Darlene Guerrero, Community Development. Back and forth here, I understand this. Elizabeth Hernandez, Public Health. Peggy Miller, Juvenile Services. Peggy. Jesse Williams, Juvenile Services. These are our 15-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Now for our 20-year employees, Merlene Brazelton, Purchasing.
Tell him.
Everybody's a critic. Everybody's a critic. Bradley Gant, Sheriff's Department. Susan Greer, Criminal District Attorney's Office. James Hudson, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Lane Walker, Public Health. And Matthew Woodson, Sheriff's Department. These are our 20-year employees. Now for our 25 plus, I call and talk with each one of them and spend a little bit more time, and we kind of talk through a few things. Our first 25-year employee is Rodney Apodaca, Precinct 4. Rodney was with a good precinct for a while.
He still is.
3.
Rodney started out in Precinct 3 and worked there for around 8 years, left, and then came back to Precinct 4. He's now a project supervisor. Has been one for about 9 years. When I asked him a memorable moment, he said it was when he was promoted to the project supervisor position. He said, it's a great job, has great benefits. He said, I really enjoy having the ability to work outside and to do road work. He is one of our veterans. When I asked him, he said he was really glad that when he was deployed in October of 2004, returned from Iraq in December of 2005, and he said, I was glad that the county still had a place for me. Well, the county will always have a place for its veterans. Rodney, we appreciate you very much and appreciate your 25 years of service to Turner County. Next is Dorothy Starr, who is in the tax office, but I think it's election day, and she said, I'm taking a day off for election day and gonna, get out there and do my duty. She has been really all over the county in all areas of the tax department. So when you see Dorothy next, please congratulate her and thank her for her 25 years of service to Tarrant County. Now, this says we're all done, which means that I've got a problem, and we may or may not get to,
You got two more.
I know I got two more. I know, JD, just go ahead and keep.
I have it on my.
Yeah, I knew, I thought that you might, but I found a way to get to it. The next is Juanino Morales. She's with the Domestic Relations Office, but she is off today, yesterday and today. She has 30 years with the county, and is another that when you see her, please thank her for her 30 years of service to Tarrant County. Our last person is Captain Floyd Heckman with the Sheriff's Department. There he is. 30 years of service with Tarrant County. He started in the Sheriff's Department right after coming out of the military. He started over at the old Belknap facility. He's worked in patrol, in narcotics area. When last we had talked, which was 5 years ago, he was back in patrol, but now he has, since that point in time, he went back into narcotics. He was promoted to captain and is now over the training academy and is also involved with the SWAT team here in Tarrant County. Most memorable moments were when he had a chance, some of his time in patrol as well as working undercover. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was the opportunities. And if you look back over his career, he's had the opportunity to serve in many different areas. And that's something that he's been very, very proud of and really looks back fondly on with his time with the county. He said, I got to do everything that I've ever wanted to do. He said, I've worked with a lot of great people and made some fantastic friends. 5 years ago, when we talked, he had adopted two children, a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl, and his daughter had graduated and was going to UNT. Very busy with his family and in his church. So when I talked with him this past weekend, I asked him, okay, tell me what's occurred in the last 5 years. Well, he has adopted two more children. His adopted children are now 12, 9, 8, and 6. His daughter is working on her PhD now in mathematics at UTA. And he has a grandson who was born on Valentine's Day. He said, I am truly have had an opportunity to live my dream with the county. Captain, we appreciate very much your 30 years of service, and we have benefited from you living that dream. Thank you very, very much. That is 590 years of service. We can't thank people enough for the job that y'all do. The ones of you that we recognized as 5 in 20 years, there'll be some other judge up here who hopefully will have called and talked with you and will be able to introduce you. And we want all of you to hit that 25-year mark. It's almost without failure. They will say, when I talk with them, they never really expected. Now, there are some who said, I knew from the day I started that I wanted to be here and that this was the only place I wanted to be. Captain was one of those. And I'm just telling you that this place will grow on you. And you may think you're only going to be here for a couple of years, but you'll get caught up in that passion called public service. And you'll get to the point to where you'll just say, okay, I want to help one more person. And 20, 25, 30 years later, you'll still be helping out one more person. And it doesn't make any difference where you work. If it doesn't make any difference whether you're on a road crew, whether you're a jailer, whether you're in domestic relations, whether you're in public health, each one of those jobs, each of those people who I've had a chance to talk with still feel like that they can make a difference in the person that they're face-to-face with on that particular day providing a service. And for that, I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do. We've got refreshments back in 504C. Have a great day. If you haven't voted, go and vote. These veterans fought so that you could. Many, many, many men and women died so that you could. So please fulfill your responsibility to go and vote today. Thank you all very much. Receive and file the employee recognition.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
I move to receive and file personnel agenda.
Second.
Can I do the consent agenda first?
No.
We have a motion to receive and file the personnel agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Move to receive
Tina.
and file.
Tina,
Just-
Tina, could I, when we get finished here, could I visit with you for just a moment? Thank you.
You want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yes, sir, that's what I just did.
Okay, we have a motion, a second, to approve the consent agenda. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You usually get ahead of me and do the consent agenda,
Yeah.
or I get ahead of it and forget it. Okay, so
Yeah.
we've done that, and we've done that. So, Chris, I guess we're not going to do that, so we'll just go ahead and.
Chris, Cisco SmartNet maintenance.
Good morning, Judge,
Good morning.
Commissioners.
Morning.
Requesting approval to purchase Cisco SmartNet maintenance for network equipment through RFP 2015043. This is just the maintenance for our existing network equipment.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Vinnie?
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court. Public Health has one item requesting your approval for an agreement between Tarrant County Public Health and the Early Learning Alliance for the coordination of services for improving early childhood learning.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Jack? Well, I think Alabama's defensive line spent more time in the backfield with the quarterback of LSU than the backfield did.
I think you're right.
What's the score of that?
It's 29-0.
Alabama?
Yeah.
Even as much as we've been beat, we did put some points on the board, but
I think we kept trying to score touchdowns when we might have been kicking at least a couple of field goals.
we'll see y'all Saturday at 6:30 in the Hills.
Well,
Ought to be a good game.
they'll probably be a little upset based upon how they got shellacked the week before.
Be a good one. Before we start, please be reminded that today is Human Resources and Purchasing's Heat and Sweet Sale in the lobby. I'm sure all the baked goods are low-cal, or most of them, or some of them, or one of them. And chili and frito pie for United Way, so please join us for lunch if you can. We have 3 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2018-167. This is bid for the Miller Avenue Sub-Courthouse Site, a remediation project. Recommendation be toward the low bidder, Icon Diversified, the amount of $369,334. If approved, we're seeking contract approval as well as acceptance of the payment and the performance bond.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2, another bid award recommendation for bid 2018-182, bid for the sidewalk and street light improvements at Block 15 parking lot, Phase 2. Recommendation be toward the low bidder for Section 1 and 2, total amount of $266,859, awarding Section 1 to Reliable Paving, Section 2 to Bean Electrical Incorporated.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Last item, bid award recommendation for bid 2018-191. This is a bid for air handling replacement at the Tarrant County Plaza Building. Recommendation to be again towards the low bidder, Infinity Contractors International. If approved, seeking contract approval, acceptance of the payment and performance bond.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Commissioner Brooks has an interlocal agreement. Has that been reviewed by the attorneys, by the DA's office?
It has, Judge.
I'll move its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Wynn?
Item N, 2A and B, I move for their approval, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Are there any appointments today? There being none, then you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move for the approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Romanius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have 2 items for you this morning. The first one concerns a briefing on the recent flooding and associated damages in Tarrant County. Mr. McCurdy is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, Commissioners. I'd like to take just a few moments of your time this morning. I'm going to introduce Mr. Sushil Kumar with the Small Business Administration to go over the program that they've been administering down in our southern part of the county, especially for the cities of Everman and Forest Hill, but for other communities as well. I'd like to ask him to come up.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I appreciate the levity with the last names. I'd like to take a shot, have you take a shot at mine.
No, absolutely not.
Well, you know. So, I'm Sushil. I'm with the Small Business Administration, Office of Disaster Assistance, and we're here at the request of the state to address the needs of the many because of flooding from the 21st of September to the 23rd of September. I've had someone pass information out to you folks. That's our program flyer. We call that a fact sheet. Just hot off the press, just to give you an idea, we've had 81 applications which we issued. In other words, 81 people took our applications, of which 70 were returned, 15 were approved for a grand total of $965,000. 4 applications for businesses, no approvals yet, so all these are homeowners and renters. So having set the context of what we do, let me just briefly go over this fact sheet with you very quickly. The program is for homeowners, renters, most private nonprofits, and businesses of all sizes. The interest rate for renters and homeowners is 2%. Private nonprofits, 2.5%, and 3.675% for businesses. The maximum amortization for those that qualify is up to 30 years. No fees, no points, no closing costs, no prepayment penalty, and your first payment is due 5 months from today if you're fully funded. The funding comes directly from the Treasury, and there's a dedicated case manager that works with you. So these loans, $965,000 worth so far to date, if they were funded today, their first payment would be due 5 months from now, and most of them would probably qualify for up to 30 years. Now, to go over real quick the details up front, if you noticed the date, September 21st to the 23rd, that's very specifically the eligibility period. Damage before or after is not considered eligible. It's for the counties of Ellis, Sutton, and Tarrant, primary, and contiguous counties for Crockett through Wise. And the distinction there is if you're doing business in those contiguous counties, you can apply for economic injury, which the definition is if I'm a business owner and I'm paid my bills on time prior to the disaster, and I suddenly can't pay those bills, I have an economic injury on my hands. So for those dollars and cents, it's up to $2 million. You could pay your rent with it. You can pay your working capital, your payroll, things along those lines. The physical damage deadline is the 17th. So we physically will close our disaster loan outreach center this Friday, but that doesn't mean that the physical damage time frame is shut. So people still have the opportunity to apply online. And I've been told that folks have the access to those resources to apply online. After that, pretty much, the details are, as you like to read. I won't take too much of your time. Any questions so far? One critical point. For those homeowners that lost it all, the definition of lost it all is a substantial damage of 40% or greater of the insurable value. If they plan on staying in the property, they plan on repairing the property, and they have an evidence of a first mortgage. Most likelihood we can refinance your mortgage down to 2%. So we have spent a lot of time, the mayor, Linda Thomas and Ray Richardson, we have knocked on doors, literally every one of those doors, about 110 of those, to make sure that they were aware that the resources were available. And we've seen about 70 of those folks at the D-Lock at the Circle Drive address. I wanted to make sure that the renters who can qualify up to $40,000 for personal property, $200,000 for homeowners, $2 million for nonprofits and business of all sizes. So that's the program in a nutshell. We appreciate the hospitality of you, sir, the judge, the county, and of course, Mr. McCurdy-Rory. So thank you for your hospitality. We appreciate you having us here. Thank you.
So if someone, I guess if someone had, let's say, a $150,000 home, it was totally destroyed. Mm-hmm. They had a $100,000 left on the mortgage at that point in time. What you're saying is you would potentially loan them the $150 to replace the house.
As long as it's below the $200,000 threshold.
As long as it's below. But then if you've also got the $100,000 mortgage that's still existing on that property, mm-hmm. So would you be able to loan another $50 to get it to that at the 2%, and then you'd have $50,000 above on that existing mortgage it would still be? Or what happens to that existing mortgage?
It gets paid off.
Okay.
So basically, let me run the math for you. We had several of these in Hurricane Harvey when I was deployed down there for 6 months. Several of those homes were in the $85,000 to $90,000 first mortgage. The value of their homes were easily $200,000 and better. The damages incidentally worked itself out where they were below the $200,000 threshold. So the first of 90, $110,000 worth of damages together adds up to $200,000. So we then pay off the higher mortgage, and the whole thing gets refinanced at 2%.
Okay.
Okay, so we had several people, just to give you an idea. One particular lady had a mortgage that was $40,000 at 9%, and she was making payments of $903. And her comment to me was, Sushil, thank you for approving us, but I can't afford the $479 payment in addition to the $900 that I'm paying for a total of $1,400. She was the perfect candidate for refinance because now The refinance amount was $562 for 30 years. She didn't have to make a payment for 1 year, which means she had a windfall of $11,000 sitting there for her to tap into, and then her new payment wouldn't start for a year.
That's great.
So there are lots of different nuances. So we really would want, and David's done a great job, of letting folks be aware of the program. We're here to help the many, not the all. Some will fall through the cracks, unfortunately, but the idea is to help the many, and we believe we're on our way.
Thank you very much for coming today.
How
and
can we get
explaining.
more information? Do we contact you or David?
Both.
Or I give my host, we'd probably refer you to the SBA folks. That
So,
way it goes straight.
can you give us your contact information?
Yes, sir, of course. I'll give you my card.
You
Yes,
bet.
please.
While he's doing that, I'd like to say that they've been housed down at the Resource Connection. Jamie and her folks down there, especially the facilities folks, have been very helpful putting up banners and taking good care of these folks. It was a good place for them. Looked like a adequate space, more than adequate for their folks that were down there. And your partners that were down there were real excited about being here because they had Whataburger nearby. So they were real excited by that. So.
The hospitality, the warmth, the rapport has been spotless. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Several homeowners in Arlington completely lost their home, so this is going to be very helpful. So thank you for that.
Members, about a week ago to item B. This is a presentation by Criminal Court Administration and deals with the Tarrant County Youthful Offenders Diversion Alternative Program. Mr. Schubert is here to address the court at this time.
Commissioners, good morning. And Judge, good morning. Oftentimes we come in here and ask for money, and we like to show you one of the programs that you have funded and its status right now. This is started under Judge Cummings, and I'll turn it over to people that actually know what they're doing, Deborah Besner and Al Taylor, who run the program.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us today. I'm Deborah Besner. I'm the program manager for the Yoda Program. Just going to give you a little bit of history. Are you clicking this?
Trying to figure out how this works.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. History of the program. So this started in March of 2011. What seemed to be Judge Cummings always was looking for a program to help these young adults. We'd see them come in front of us. These are cases that the sibling fighting, parent-child, stuff like that. So we were looking for a program for that. Sheila Johnson with the Amon Carter Foundation came to us and said she was looking to give up startup money. And so that's how that started. We started with that, with UTA and the School of Social Work. And then in 2012 is when it became to the budget here, which y'all graciously support us. I'm going to give it to Alex now.
So these are our statistics for last year. I just wanted to show you kind of our success rate. So in terms of referrals, we had 62 people, participants referred to the program last year. 49 of them successfully completed the program.
Okay, so the eligibility of the program is, of course, the DAs, the prosecutors have to refer them to the program. And this is an age of 17 to 25-year-olds. Again, it is young adults. We call them kids, but they're young adults, 17, 25. Again, that are in front of us for assaulting their parents, assaulting a sibling, a cousin, a roommate that's non-intimate partner, okay? They cannot be on probation. They can't have any pending felonies, and it's a first-time offender program.
These are statistics for this month, so I just wanted to give you a look at kind of what we're working with. That was for October. So we had 11 new referrals, 6 graduates of the program, and we had 3 removals. 1 referral, we actually did take a felony case, which is the first time we're kind of trying that out. 2 participants are currently involved in substance abuse and rehab programs. I really work with organizations like in the community to try and develop relationships so I can get them the services that they need. 10 are employed full-time, 10 part-time. 7 are currently in high school, 1 is in a GED program, and 5 are in college.
So the rest of these are just some success stories, but
We wanted to give you an idea of what kind of participants we had that were successful. However, we thought it would be better, instead of you guys just reading about them, that I would bring you one to talk to you in person. So I have Chris Cantrell here, and he's here with his mom, and he successfully completed the program this October. So I thought, if you don't mind, we'd like him to speak to you guys.
You bet. Morning, Chris. How are you?
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good.
Good morning.
I just want to speak to you a little bit about the Yoda program today. It's a little passage I've written up. From the day of the incident to today, I have learned a lot about life and the reason why I drank, did drugs, and had angry outbursts. Now, since I have grown as a person, I realize that the only person to blame would be myself. I recognize that my violent acts hurt everyone, including myself. I did what I had done for years and acted out of anger instead of reason. But since my arrest, I have learned many ways through the Yoda program on how I can change the outcome of a similar situation and others that may come. To just simply think about the other person and to think about what good it will even do, I can then avoid making another mistake of using physical harm against another person. Before the program, I was drinking, addicted to many different drugs to conceal my anger and depression. I dropped out of school, could never hold a job, and was on a downward spiral to a lifetime of pain. I can gladly say today I graduated and got my high school equivalency, and am now a student at Hill College and pursuing a job as a paramedic where I can help others in their time of need. All of my accomplishments that have led me to a life without drugs, alcohol, and violence is thanks to Alex, Michael, and the whole Yoda program. By listening to my story and not just telling me, but helping me realize that this is not a life that I want to pursue and that I can be a productive and respectful person in this world. Thank you.
Chris, congratulations.
Go ahead. 2 years ago, my son was a football player. He was at ROTC, and he got mixed up with some bad people. And I watched him spiral down. He quit school. He quit football. He quit everything, all his dreams. He got mixed up in really bad drugs. He was running the streets. There was a lot of sleepless nights. There was one time I chased him through a field, just trying to keep him from running off with his drug buddies. This program saved his life. I did everything I could to keep him away from his father and his father's type of life, and I failed. But this program changed that, and now he doesn't steal from me anymore. He doesn't lie. He doesn't sneak out. He's not doing drugs. He went back to school and he graduated, and he's going to college, and he is fulfilling his dreams again. When he first started this program, I really thought it was not going to work. When we first came to the first meeting, he was like, I'm not doing counseling and all that. That's just stupid. And Alex is amazing, and she told him, let's just try. And he did, and he got to where he looked forward to his group meetings and going and talking about stuff. And the first month was kind of rocky. I was worried he was going to fail, but he just got better and better. He got to the E2 program through Goodwill. He graduated in record time. He completed 3 years of high school in 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, incredible.
So,
Really?
really. This program is so important. The only part of this program that I think needs improvement is at the end of it, after these kids work so hard, it is thousands of dollars for them to expunge it from their records so they can have a good life. Some kids are lucky enough that their parents stand behind them and can pay for this, but other kids aren't, and so it stays on their record, and it does stop them from fulfilling dreams in life. So that would be the only thing that I would say needs to be reevaluated, is a way to help these kids get this taken off their record so they can live a full life without it haunting them forever. So, thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. Chris, it sounds like you have a tremendous potential, and you've got a lot of folks who love you very, very much. Don't fail to lean on them when they do it. As parents, none of us are perfect, but we will never stop loving our kids. So,
Chris, can I ask you a question? What is it about the program or Alex that make you rethink your behavior and your action and so forth?
Well, a lot of the people who are in there, most of their lives, they've been talked down to. They've been told that nobody ever listened to their story. Nobody ever helped them understand that this isn't a life. A lot of them had family members, even parents that were incarcerated. So jail didn't really, scare them. But these, Alex and Michael and everyone in the Yoda program, they teach you that, and they don't force it on you, and they don't try to shove it down your throat. They listen, and they help out, and they kind of it's kind of hard to explain. Like, they make you feel heard, and they make you feel wanted, and they make you feel like you actually can do better in life, that you don't have to be doing meth, and you don't have to drink your way down, and you don't have to end up like your parents if they were incarcerated, and you don't have to be a lifetime disappointment.
They believe in you.
Yeah, they believe in you. They really do. And they do everything to make sure that you get to the end.
Thank
Chris, thank you for being courageous enough to come down and be a part of this, and thank you too.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Well, what came on the expungement? Why don't you get back with us? And
You're getting heard from me.
thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Judge Cummings and Judge Cook, for your leadership in this program.
Much.
Thank you.
Donna, that's all we have at this time.
And we have no close today.
We do have closed.
We do have close today. Then I will recess the open meeting to proceed to close to discuss items exempted under section 551.071, 072.
Gets me every time.
Having returned from our closed session, there being no business to conduct at this time, we're now adjourned.
Welcome to Violent